Welcome to World Cinema Recap. Cinema showcases Kyle Pratt. Kyle, an American aircraft engineer, lost her husband in Berlin. She must fly her husband's body to the US with her 4-year-old daughter Julia. Kyle takes her doctor-prescribed anxiety tablets. The next morning, a taxi takes them to the airport in the snow. Julia panics when Kyle loses her at the airport. She sees tourists, couples, and grown-ups. Nobody kid-sized. She turns again. Julia is by a sundries stand. She warns her not to wander without her permission in an angry tone. A plane Kyle designed will carry Kyle and Julia. They enter the cabin first. Julia stares out her window. She then steams the pane with her breath and makes a little, awkward heart with her finger. Then Kyle sleeps. She wakes up to find Julia gone from her seat. Kyle asks other passengers, but none remember her. A flight attendant thinks Julia is playing with her age group. Julia is nowhere to be found as Kyle comes down the aisle. Kyle stares around with growing anxiety. So she examines their row, where they fell asleep. Under the blanket, she finds the one-armed bear. But no Julia! That's odd. Julia wouldn't leave her teddy. To find Julia, she calls flight attendant Stephanie. Stephanie offers to help and reports a missing youngster. Stephanie then informs her that her daughter did not board the airplane, surprising her. Kyle's confused. She shows her boarding pass to indicate she was with her daughter. Kyle can't find Julia's boarding pass. She finds her daughter's backpack missing from the overhead bin, which is impossible because Julia is too short to reach up there. Jean Carson, a sky marshal, watches her hunt for her daughter. Kyle requests to see Marcus Rich, the captain, to help find her daughter. The captain asks Kyle if he's taking any medicine after discovering her daughter didn't board. Kyle says she took sleeping medications for anxiety after her husband's death. Kyle says her husband died 6 days ago falling from their roof, which she doesn't think was suicide. The captain and crew believe Kyle is delusional after her husband's death and wants to bring her daughter on board. Kyle keeps on searching for Julia thoroughly. After some hesitation, Captain Rich instructs the crew to search thoroughly. The cabin lights are on. All passengers are told to stay put. Stephanie searches the avionics area for 4-year-old females but finds none. She spots an Egyptian while Pratt searches. She challenges him because she recognizes him. Her thinking is too jumbled to remember. Kyle requests the captain find Julia in the cargo hold. Captain Rich refuses, yelling that hundreds of customers are being ignored because all flight attendants are searching for a youngster they don't think was on board. Kyle reacts poorly. Then she runs to the Egyptian. She accuses the man of stealing her daughter after seeing him looking into her daughter's bedroom last night. He is upset to be accused and presents proof of receipt from his hotel, which is far from her flat. Then anarchy strikes. Kyle makes him confess. They fight. Carson, disgusted up with her behavior, feels her husband's death makes more sense. After 2 hours with her, he jumps. Soon after, Captain Marcus receives a cable from the Berlin hospital saying Julia was with her father when he fell off the roof and died of internal injuries. Her gang thinks she's delusional. Kyle furiously refuses. She is confident Julia is alive and on the plane. After fabricating a tale, Carson shackles Kyle and holds her in her seat, believing she is a threat. Kyle doubts her sanity when Lisa, a therapist, consoles her. Now she accepts her daughter's death. However, she discovers that Julia's heart on the window next to her seat is real. Kyle increasingly suspects something is wrong. She then gets the therapist to let her use the bathroom. Instead, she climbs into the upper compartment and sabotages the aircraft systems, deploying oxygen masks and disrupting illumination. All passengers and personnel panic, but Carson realizes Kyle did it. She takes a dumbwaiter to the lower freight deck during the pandemonium. Her husband's casket is there. She opens David's casket, expecting Julia, but finds just his body. Nothing else. Carson finds her, arrests her, and leads her back, explaining that the airplane is making an emergency halt at Goose Bay Airport to arrest her. One passenger cheers as she's led to her seat. The deck fills with applause. Egyptians and others are watching her. Kyle pauses and sits in the back row. Kyle urges Carson to check the plane after landing. Carson thinks and chooses to talk to the captain. Instead of talking to the captain, he sneaks to the freight deck. He retrieves 2 explosives and a detonator from Kyle's spouse David's casket. After climbing down to the avionics section, he attaches the explosives to the platform, revealing Julia asleep. Carson is revealed as the mastermind. Carson and Stephanie conspired to hijack the plane for a $50 million ransom and accused Kyle for knowing about it. They abducted Julia to force Kyle to unlock the casket with the explosives and detonator. Carson warns the captain that Kyle is a hijacker and will blow up the plane unless the airline deposits $50 million. Carson informs an unsettled Stephanie that he plans to blow up the plane, kill Julia, and leave Kyle dead with the detonator. Kyle can't believe what occurred and anxiously glances out the window as the plane lands. Other passengers are confused by the emergency landing. The passengers disembark the plane after landing. Kyle confronts the captain, who angrily announces the ransom paid as he leaves. This confuses Kyle. She soon understands Carson's involvement. He spins the truth to make Kyle look like a terrorist. Kyle chooses to hijack and orders Carson to stay and the crew to leave after realizing this. Carson hesitates but recognizes that if he refuses, the charade will be his. Kyle knocks Carson out with a fire extinguisher, shackles him to a rail, and grabs the detonator from his pocket when the plane's door closes. Stephanie emerges. Carson wakes up. Kyle is pursued and shot until she locks herself in the cockpit. To trick him, she opens a plane attic hatch and throws out a binder. Carson exits after the upstairs bang. Kyle leaves and meets guilt-ridden Stephanie. She hits her, who escapes the plane in panic. Kyle searches the avionics for her daughter and finds Julia unconscious. She quickly cuddles and carries her. Carson follows and discovers that he murdered her husband to smuggle explosives in his casket, believing it would not be checked at the gate. Kyle quickly drags Julia into the aircraft's non-combustible hold with the detonator. Carson shoots her as she closes the door. She detonates the bombs, exploding the plane and kills Carson, protected by the hold's non-combustible walls. The staff and passengers are shocked by the explosion. Kyle and her daughter appear shortly after. The passengers are stunned when Kyle pulls her daughter out onto the tarmac and reveals that she was speaking the truth. Kyle gets apologized to by Captain Rich at the airport the next morning for his mistrust. After handcuffing Stephanie, an FBI agent informs them that the Berlin mortuary director has also been arrested. Kyle takes Julia past the truth-aware passengers. Everyone is shocked and guilty for not believing her. Julia wakes up and sleepily wonders, "Are we there yet?" before packing her daughter into a van to go. Respect and forgiveness are shown when the Egyptian passenger helps pick up her bag in the concluding scene. Subscribe for more videos like this, enable notifications, and like to support the channel. Thanks for watching.